Hi, I'm Jack Baruzzini, and you're listening to The Secret to Stargate, where we talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. And joining me today are Jeff Haecker. Hello, Jeff.
Hey, Jack.
And Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Jack.
And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Jack.
Today we are discussing the 18th episode of Season 1 of Atlantis, The Gift, or The GIF, as Victor had said. Yes.
Yes.
Also, on the date of this recording, not the date when it comes out, it is the 30th anniversary of the original Stargate movie premiering in theaters. So
nice.
There we go.
Wow.
Saw it on the internet earlier, so I figured we should probably mention that. Teyla, plagued by nightmares and a strange connection with the Wraith, seeks answers about her abilities. After consulting with Dr. Heitmeyer, the resident psychiatrist, and Dr. Beckett, they discover Teyla has Wraith DNA, a result of ancient experiments to enhance the Wraith feeding process. This genetic link allows Teyla to tap into the Wraith mental network, but also makes her vulnerable to their influence. While attempting to gather intelligence from them, a Wraith takes control of Teyla, revealing their plan to invade Earth through the Stargate. The Atlantis team realizes the urgency of the situation and the potential danger posed by Teyla's connection to the enemy. And we get yet another cliffhanger. What are your thoughts on this episode, Jeff?
Yeah, this is another good one, and it sets up some things that will even pay off in the series finale. So there's some stuff that kind of leads overall to the series finale, but there's the Wraith DNA connection definitely is something that'll be coming up in a couple seasons in some interesting ways. And yeah, it was fun to see Teyla get to play, or I guess a Wraith through Teyla, and seeing the actress Rachel Luttrell play that was fun. And overall it's a pretty good episode.
What about you, Lisa?
You know what's funny? I say this every week. I didn't really remember this one. Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a little, I'll say, slow in parts. A lot of talking, a lot of, developing things for later, which I appreciate. But as far as the episode, it was a little slow in parts for me. I thought Rachel Luttrell did a fabulous job. And you weren't always sure if she was awake or asleep, which I think was a very 1994 kind of thing. I mean, 2004 kind of thing to do. So I really appreciated that. But overall, it just was a little slow for me. I hate to say that.
Yeah, I feel like the past 2 or 3 episodes have been very much scene-setting episodes where they're just building up to the finale of the season.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Victor?
I just want to say that there is no truth to the allegations that the Wraith have taken control of my mind. They cannot see what I am doing. No, yeah, there is a lot of talking in this episode, and a lot of the multi-dream fake outs. I was watching this with our 9-year-old, and the last time we watched Atlantis had to be about 3 or 4 years ago. And we started watching it, and the very first thing he said was, "Oh, is this the one where she's dreaming and she wakes up and she's still in a dream?" And so I was like, "Oh yeah, they do the double dream fake out in this episode." Yeah, a lot of exposition in this episode. It's mainly an exposition episode. I kind of have mixed feelings where, we're already a full season in, and it's like, oh yeah, that established character. Well, it turns out she has psychic powers, because I feel like that's just a huge, cop out if they haven't been seeding that throughout the whole season, which I don't think they did credibly in this case. But it's a pretty good episode. We get to see all of our old favorites. Kavanaugh's in it, and Solenka's in it, and on those merits, it succeeds.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I always like seeing the Wraith just because they're so creepy and very, I don't know, I just get very mid-2000s emo goth from them every time they're on screen, which I guess we've reached the point where we can be nostalgic for the mid-2000s, so.
Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, it's, like I said previously, it's very much a setting up all the pieces for the finale episode. So it almost felt like there wasn't really like a beginning, middle, end to this episode. It was just like, here's stuff we need to communicate before we get to the next part.
Yeah, and the timeline was a little weird too, because they're under this, ticking clock where in a week the Wraith will attack the city, and yet we keep cutting back to scenes of Teyla waking up after a night's sleep or, not sleeping. And so you're like, wait, did they just burn like 4 days or 5 days with her? Like, oh, we'll wait for you to fall asleep and see if you have any dreams. Then we'll wake up and we'll go to a different planet. And if that doesn't work out, we'll go to a different place. While the Wraith are like, basically attacking Atlantis. So it seemed a little, the timeline seemed a little weird in this.
And a little strange, like you said, that the Wraith are, I think it said at the beginning, a week away.
Yeah.
And yet it's like, well, we have nothing else to do. We might as well pursue this.
Yeah.
When you've got, everybody, Shepard, Ford, of course, McKay. I mean, of course he has nothing to do, right? It's, I don't know. Like I said, overall, I liked it, but there were little things. But you're right. We did see Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
And Bates and Beckett. Like, we got everybody, which was kind of nice. And a lot of good Wraith interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a new character.
Oh, yeah. I was about to say it's the first Dr. Heitmeyer who will... I think she's in... I thought she was in more episodes than she's in, but she's in like 5 or 6 over the course of the series. But I always enjoyed her character. And then I remembered she was the ship AI from Voyager, the one that has a thing for Tom Paris from that Voyager episode.
Oh, I knew I'd seen her somewhere.
Yeah. She kind of looks familiar. What has she been in? And then of course I looked up and said, oh yeah. And because all these actors have been in everything else before. So some Star Trek or something. So, but yeah, I did like how they were setting stuff up though for this season and rest of the series with the genetic connection, because I think this was the first episode we really learned that the Aratus bug is what led to the Wraith, because the ancients were experimenting, and of course the ancients experimenting, never often goes awry, and it created the Wraith. So we kind of learned that kind of concretely here, and then they kind of do retroactively confirm that there's been some incidents with Teyla and the Wraith, like she could sense the Wraith and no one knew why. She just always had that ability. And so they kind of answered that here. So I did like how they kind of set that up here. And then of course we'll see that in later seasons, like I mentioned before. So there's an interesting episode where she has to really lean into the Wraith DNA connection, which is a fun one. I think it's like 4 or 5 maybe, but yeah. But overall, yeah, I mean, this one, it was slow, but it didn't, I think they were trying to save their budget as well. Like SG1 did the same thing this season. They were trying to save it for the siege. So
yeah, but they didn't have to make it so slow. Like it's, Teyla's, she goes to see a shrink, and then it feels like those scenes are like 20 minutes long where Dr. Heitmeyer is talking to her. And I guess the actresses are friends in real life. And then, she goes to the Athosian outpost on the mainland and talks to the old lady there. And it's another like checking your phone until that scene's over. And then they're like, we're going to go to another planet. You're like, okay, whatever. And then it's like, oh, there's an abandoned lab here. And that's kind of interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing about the Wraith that, experimented on people trying to make them more tasty and genetically compatible with the Wraith, which I don't really buy. The Wraith seem to like people the way they taste now, but it's, and in the process gave them superpowers, which oops, but I didn't get what the connection was to that planet, like why they decided to go to that planet and find the lab there, but I may have just missed that because I was like scrolling at that point.
I thought that the old lady said there were legends of this world where all the people were killed or something, except for a few got away, and there were legends of that world, and that's how they found it.
So that was the planet. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they were trying to up the protein level of the humans. They were just doing their own, what do we call it, like genetic modification?
Yeah,
GMOs.
They were like the Monsantos of the of the Wraith. They were ahead of the time in their commentary, I guess.
There you go. I also felt like the episode started with Teyla, with her dream and all that, but I felt like she never was really herself. It was like she was more on edge this episode than ever before, and really overly concerned suddenly with the people of Atlantis not accepting her. And we'd had, I think, early, very early in the season or the series, we had that where Weir was keeping her out, until she kind of proved herself. But we really haven't seen that since. And then suddenly in this episode, she's all freaked out that her own people were going to push her aside, even though they made her leader, and the Atlantis people were going to not trust her anymore. So I thought it was just odd. And maybe it's because she's not getting any sleep. And we all know that not getting sleep can be really detrimental to your mental health. I don't know. But it just seemed odd.
It was very much a tell, don't show kind of thing where they brought all this stuff up and were like, oh, she's always been able to sense the Wraith. We just never mentioned that before. And, which seemed very like a glaringly obvious, like, oh, we have to put a line into retcon this because we didn't think of it until we wrote this episode.
Mm-hmm. And that it's hereditary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like other family members have also had this. And it's not terribly uncommon. And that's the reason she's their leader.
Yeah, and they also talked about she could sense the Wraith before, but I thought that they kind of established that the Wraith haven't done a culling in a long time. So did they just meet random Wraith, like one off as growing up before the Earth humans came? Or I feel like that wasn't super clear. I mean, I guess they might have encountered them here and there or something, but they kind of said the cullings haven't happened in a long time. So I don't know if that was just just a plot hole that they just decided to leave open and never go back to, or what. I can't remember if there was ever any flashbacks of her as a girl in later seasons where they show her like encountering the Wraith or something for the first time.
I think that, remember in the very first episode, they had the caretakers, the ones they ran into on her planet that were culling, but they were just the caretakers for all the others. Remember the Wraith Queen said that? And so I kind of thought they haven't had these mass cullings where they've all been awake in, I guess, generations.
It's kind of like the cicadas where you get every like decade or so, the different cycles sync up and you get a huge amount of them. Maybe it's like that.
Yeah. and it's also not very clear like to what the range or the rules or the abilities of her superpower are, because we'll get an explanation for maybe why she can sense the Wraith, but she's able to kind of like mind warp into their hive ships, which are still thousands of light years away at this point. So it's not really clear what's going on. And if you're going to give someone superpowers, you have to kind of define the boundaries and the rules. Otherwise it's kind of meaningless. It's like, oh, she has unlimited psychic ability now, as far as we know. It's just very Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. where they would just like give their protagonists superpowers whenever they needed them, or Heroes, or any of those like kind of shows when they entered their 5th or 6th seasons. But this is still the first season of the show, so they should have this worked out in advance, but they really don't.
Just needed a good hypnotist to remind her of the cold, that she felt when her father was taken. That's all she needed to unlock the voices in her head.
I don't think Dr. Heitmeyer is a very good therapist. I'm just going to say it. Like
agree.
Approaching people in the cafeteria. I don't know. It's just, and I was confused for like, I don't know, this is like 20 years old now at this point. I thought Rodney was actually dating her, not that he was just a patient.
I think later on, I think that might come in later, where or at least he's trying to date her and it's not going well. I don't remember exactly, because he ends up kind of dating somebody else.
But the joke is that he's not dating her in this episode. He's just a patient. But they don't telegraph that well enough.
No,
for me at least. I was like, oh, okay, Rodney's got a girlfriend. Why not? Like there's only 140 or I don't know how many people on this base, and why not have Rodney date?
He had to get over the lady from the other planet. So somehow,
that was just last week, or the last time we did one of these, right? Like the Brotherhood, remember? And he's like all hot, bothered over this other woman. And yeah, so that took me a minute. I was like, they're dating? Wait, what? I don't remember that. And then it was like, oh, no.
He's just a patient.
Yeah.
Well, they had to do the Daniel Jackson thing of him getting a new girl every without much downtime in between them.
The problem is, who's going to believe that? Like, really, right? McKay?
I mean, if you look at who he ends up dating later, it's kind of like, really?
Yeah.
McKay is going to...
I mean, Kylie is at least as good as Dr. Heitmeyer, so...
Yeah. I just meant he doesn't seem to have much game. You know what I mean?
Maybe he just uses his awkward charm.
Yeah. Maybe.
And there was the botanist that he's dating at some point too.
Oh, that's right.
And I think he's about to propose to her, from what I remember.
And then they get locked in Botany Bay or whatever.
Yeah, approaching someone like that as a therapist and like basically like putting them on the spot in a public setting is not something you would see from someone who is a competent professional.
Yeah, especially since your friend thinks like you need therapy. So
maybe her problem is she's just run out of people to talk to and she's trying to make herself feel useful on the team.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, the other thing is there's 100, I think Weir said 200 people, right, on the planet or in the base.
Counting the Athosians, I think.
Yeah. And my thought is, on Atlantis itself, on the little floating island ship thing, how many women are there? Because my guess would be it's a majority male, thing. So there's not that many women. And you're going to tell me that the women don't all know of each other? Just saying. Seems like y'all been there for a little while. You would have some idea who each other was. This would not be the first time she's met Dr. Heitmeyer.
Yeah, that would be weird. And whenever they introduce like a character like this and they become a major character in an episode, your first thing is like, oh, this is a dream episode where they're hallucinating another character, or this is an alien who's insuated themselves into the society and has altered people's memory and stuff. Not like, oh, this is a person who's been here for the past year. We just haven't, we just haven't needed a therapist until this point. It's like, no, like you would need a therapist for like everybody there.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's ways to introduce her without being like, oh, I have no idea who you are. I've never seen you before. They could know of each other with Teyla still not understanding what exactly she does. What kind of doctor. I think that would be acceptable. But to be like, I don't know who you are. That's weird.
Yeah, she could just say she doesn't want to talk to her.
Yeah.
They do hang a lantern on that in some ways, because there's an episode later where Shepard and McKay have been playing this game for years and years, and it's like the first time everyone's learning about it. So they do kind of, maybe not making fun of this specifically, but they do kind of make fun of that trope of...
This Command
haven't you been paying attention to what what people are doing?
Yeah.
That's a good episode. I do like that episode a lot. Yeah. I like it more than this one, but not that I mean, this was a necessary episode. We had to establish that, the Aratus bug evolved because the ancients put humans on this planet and, and so that's kind of cool to know. But I mean, whenever you introduce like psychic powers in a character, I don't know if it's been done too much after this show came out, but it's like, oh, how do we make our character special? Well, we give her psychic powers, of course,
It feels like I'm out of ideas writing crutch, and I don't think that's how it got. I don't think Atlantis is out of ideas. I think it was just odd the way they introduced it.
Mm-hmm. And maybe they'd been planning this because, I mean, they did say from the beginning that Teyla could sense the Wraith and all this, right? I mean, but yeah.
Yeah, but then you really need, like, at one point, at some episode, it's like they turn to her and say, like, how did you know? Or something. And she's like, I don't know. It's just a feeling I get, that, I don't know. Like when they were capturing the Wraith on the planet, she could have said, he's over there. I know it, or something.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that's what they were hinting at when she like wandered off and found the Wraith on her own or something, but could have been more clear.
And I'm not trying to spoil anything, but there is a reason in this episode her feeling is so strong and won't go away, right? I'm remembering that correctly.
Yeah.
Like, the next episode or something.
Yeah, the dart in the previous episode. Yeah.
Okay. Because I thought that was in this episode, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just forgot it and don't remember correctly. It has been a long time, but no, we get that next episode.
Yeah, this episode really felt like it had the beginning and the end chopped off of it, and it was just like a bunch of middle scenes.
Yeah.
In fact, when it ended, I was like, is that really the end? Really? Are we? What?
Or it was like the B and C plot of a Star Trek episode, and we missed the A plot where like Shepard is out like engaging the Wraith fleet or something. You know, they're actually doing something about the invasion in the A plot, and then this is just meanwhile back at the base, Teyla is like hallucinating for like 5 days. And James Lafanzanos, who plays all the Wraith, he was Gordon the Wraith in this one.
Oh, Gordon.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, I think you hit on something there. I think that's what's missing is this felt like a B plot and we're missing the A plot.
Mm-hmm.
Like there should have been you realize there's no plan, right? For when the Wraiths show up next week. Is there a plan?
The plan is to blow up the city and evacuate, but they can't do that because the Wraiths seem to know all of their plans because of Teyla.
Well, we also find out that the Wraith Queen had interrogated Colonel Sumner.
Oh yeah.
Because she sensed the feeding, like, where did you come from? And she sensed, there's thousands, millions, billions.
Mm-hmm.
So they sense this feeding ground. So that's why we kind of learned that's why the Wraith are wanting to attack Atlantis so bad, is they want to get, because the Atlantis gate has a control crystal that lets you dial outside your current galaxy. So they want that so they can get to Earth without having to, send the hive ships through the, however long it would take between galaxies.
I did like that where the Teyla with the Wraith inhabiting her, or maybe it's Teyla remembers, I can't remember. But it was, what were the words that the Wraith Queen said? It was a something fertile feeding ground, or there was some phrase that the Wraith Queen used when she was feeding on Sumner. And for them to say it again in this episode, I thought that was, I liked that callback to the very beginning. That was really good. Now I can't remember the words.
Trying to see if it's in the notable quote section on the
A
wiki.
new rich feeding ground.
That was it. A new rich. It's the way she said it, very slow, just like that Wraith Queen did. I was like, remember that.
I feel
creamy, crunchety Butterfinger.
That, or you could use that for like a Golden Corral commercial.
Golden Corral. There's a new rich feeding ground at Golden Corral.
Golden Corral even around anymore?
They are.
Yeah. They are, yeah.
No clue.
Only been once and would not go back.
That was enough.
I'm more of a Ponderosa Steakhouse man myself, although I don't know if those are still around anywhere.
I think those are gone.
Yeah.
I haven't had a chance to try Spam yet, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
just better get on
a couple weeks
that
before civilization collapses, so
I should be stocking up at this point.
Yeah. Go get that toilet paper now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's lots of scenes, not a lot of strong plot. Things just happen.
And if you want to watch the commentary for this one, it's Peter DeLuise, who directed it, and then Gary Jones, who plays Walter Harriman on SG-1.
That's random.
It's random. What possible insight did he have about a show he's not on?
None, because he doesn't watch the show either.
That's awesome.
And so it was just a lot of them just cracking jokes the entire time, and Peter DeLuise trying to explain the show to Gary Jones, and Gary Jones making puns and witty comments and stuff. So
they were very inspired by this episode.
Yeah, I didn't make it all the way through. Just, the commentary.
That's funny.
Does he actually say in the commentary that he doesn't watch Atlantis?
At the beginning, apparent? Like they had to explain who the Wraith were, and he's like, "Oh, I've heard of the Wraith, of course," but
can't remember.
I've seen them in the makeup trailer.
Crosses over.
Well, he did at the end of the previous episode, Letters from Pegasus. Like,
yeah,
but I don't think he actually goes to Atlantis. Maybe on the ship at some point.
Yeah, if he was ever on the Daedalus or something that went there.
Yeah, not at the time the commentary was recorded.
Yeah, that was just like a pickup shot during filming of a different SG-1 episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Say these lines and you'll get paid for an episode of Atlantis too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to tell us that little pickup scene was just who's around? Like, who's still here today? All right, go in there and just say these 3 things.
I think at this point, Walter was like a beloved enough character that they were, giving him special scenes and stuff to do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else happens in this episode. It's been a couple days since I've seen it.
Well, I think the old lady comes. We see her more as because she's kind of a like a grandmother figure for Teyla as we go along in the series. I'm assuming it's the same old lady that she goes and visits and kind of helps her through things and all of that. And then when she passes, it's kind of a big deal on the episode.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why we really haven't seen her before now. Have we? I mean, we've seen Holland and stuff, and I don't know where Holland is.
Maybe he got another gig.
Yeah, I think so.
He's playing the Wraith.
Yeah.
Okay, I just looked. Gary Jones is on 12 episodes of Atlantis.
Okay.
So eventually, maybe he makes it there, and he's also in Universe, so he gets around.
Yeah, I think he does make it to Atlantis, or at least on one of the ships. And then there's, once they establish a more,
he might be on that.
Yeah. I think he's in the station, the kind of bridging station there. Which, yeah. There's a really good episode with him and Teal'c, I think.
I have to look at the old lady, but
yeah, I'd forgotten if she came. I don't remember her coming back. I didn't really remember the old lady part at all. So I got something to look forward to.
It's like, how many tropes can we fit into one episode?
Therapy scene, nightmare scene, old lady with soup scene,
spontaneous generation of psychic powers.
Well, she and Shepard were doing their wacky stick fighting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess by next season she actually uses that in combat.
Yeah, because I don't think we've seen that yet.
Yeah.
Didn't she fight a Wraith in that one episode where they captured the first Wraith?
Maybe.
I thought she was fighting him hand to hand.
Oh yeah, she did.
And according to IMDb, the old lady's only in 2 episodes, so maybe I'm completely making stuff up.
The old lady is actually Walter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interstellar Walter. 2001 Walter.
Yeah, well, there is a reason that we eventually won't see a lot of the Athosians anymore after we...
Is it because they're boring?
They're farmers.
Yeah, they live in those little dome. Those little dome things are cool. I'm always amazed by what the Earthlings brought to Atlantis in the 4 seconds or whatever the gate was open when they came through. It's like they have this med bay with a dozen different hospital beds. Who are the guys who are my job is to just get this hospital bed through the gate, and then I'm stuck in the Pegasus galaxy, and basically my only job was to bring a hospital bed in, and there's 4 other guys like me who brought in hospital beds.
They probably made the Marines do that.
Yeah, it's oh, okay, your job is to wheel in this rack of, server cards.
And now you're stuck here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you brought in the geodesic dome huts for the civilization we may or may not find at some point in the future. I don't know. It just seems like they brought a lot of stuff.
Maybe they figured out 3D printing in Atlantis.
Yeah.
Well, that was the cool thing about the remake of Lost in Space, is that all the ships had like 3D printers that could like 3D print things. And that I thought was cool, because if you're going to send a colony ship, across the galaxy, you'll want to have like 3D printing and stuff to fabricate anything you might need. And it became a central plot point in that show. But it was, that was still, I guess, too far in the future when Atlantis was being made. They didn't really have a, you don't see them bringing through like machine shop equipment or anything that they can use to fabricate more stuff. So the implication is whatever they got through the gate in the few seconds it was open is what they had. And they seem to have a lot.
They store them in the same place that Voyager stores all its shuttlecraft.
Exactly. Yeah. Although I did like Teyla's bedroom in Atlantis, right? Because they want to like give every bedroom the flavor of the person that's in it. So Shepard's bedroom has a Johnny Cash poster and all this other stuff that, again, he brought with him somehow, the poster and the poster frame. So he's like carrying it under his arm while he has his P90 in his other hand, I guess. But her bedroom has like, all these like furs and like clay pots at like, it looks like a Pier 1 imports in there. And you're like when they were evacuating the Athosians' planet, when the Wraith were attacking, did she just like run around and grab all these pots and furs and, doilies and stuff and tchotchkes and bring them through for her room? I don't know, but it just seems like the rooms are a little bit too well decorated sometimes.
Is there any music video set?
Yeah.
Making it personable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Turn around. There's a big fur on the floor, and that's where I sleep.
I just like all the very very 21st century Earth looking furniture we see around Atlantis, which I'm assuming was just there, but like the couch that is in Dr. Whitmire's office. It's like you went to like Home Goods and picked that one up.
Yeah, I mean the mess hall furniture, was that stuff they brought, or did they find that there?
Maybe it's just an episode we didn't see where they found a 21st century level of technology in
like,
the abandoned world.
There's an IKEA on Atlantis.
IKEA. There is an IKEA, right?
Yeah.
That's the twist. All of Atlantis is actually just an IKEA.
IKEA, yeah.
With meatballs.
Yes.
And the ancient language is just Swedish.
Nice.
Yeah. Weir does figure out the Wraith language pretty quickly.
She does.
For someone who doesn't really know ancient, like, she's like, oh, this looks like ancient, and I can read it now.
But she does know what, like 10, 15 languages? Or at
I
least
guess that's true,
blonde Weir did. I don't know about brunette Weir.
Yeah.
But blonde Weir.
Hopefully at least some of it carried over.
Yeah, I hope so. So since we don't have Daniel Jackson, she has to be our linguist, right?
That works.
Yeah. But it would have been so much like easier to just like give that role to one of the other scientists. I don't know.
Yeah, she had to have something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She could have been planning for the imminent invasion.
What? There's a whole week. What kind of procrastinator are you?
She'll do it the night before.
That's when you get all the good papers written, right?
Nice.
Well, next episodes are much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is very much a put the pieces into place, convey a bunch of information.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a very long previously on segment.
Yeah, that's a really good way to describe it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, quick, we wrote this season finale, but we didn't. Oh, did we say that already? No. Okay, let's connect the dots. Like, let's just filler episode to give all the exposition that we haven't done yet.
Yeah.
We have X number of episodes, but we were one short. What can we do?
What's cheap?
It was almost a bottle episode, except for they went to the plant, or they went to the mainland, and then they went to the Wraith lab. But aside from that, it was all in Atlanta. So it was kind of I'm sure they repurposed the Wraith lab from something else that was cheap enough. They didn't have to make a whole new set or anything.
Do
So
we
it was
know,
kind
or
of a
could y'all
problem.
tell, did they repurpose the Wraith scenes, like the Teyla as Wraith scenes from another episode? Or was that new? Because that, I mean, I'm assuming that makeup cost a good pretty penny because it probably takes hours.
Most of that was new. If it was obviously Rachel Luttrell's makeup was new, of course, and then anything that James Lefanzanos wore, I think was new as well.
Mm.
But at this point, the main Wraith actor they have is like, makeup and cast, and all they do is they just change the tattoo on his face. No, seriously, that's all they do is they move around like the kiss tattoo to a different part of his face, and that's how they distinguish between the different Wraiths there.
Okay.
No, and they were actually inspired by kiss tattoos.
Oh, no.
The Wraith tattoos were, yeah.
Well, I guess we know how old they are.
Yeah.
I mean, the people who are inspired by it, like, I mean, I grew up when Kiss was a really big thing. So, yeah. I get that.
What would be the equivalent if it was made today?
Like Juggalo tattoos, I guess. Insane Clown Posse.
Kurt Cobain flannels.
Kurt Cobain. Yeah. Post Malone's.
Oh,
Just call them maybe a Wraith dressed up as Post Malone.
It's a great Halloween costume idea.
Yeah, Post Malone Wraith.
The hand has the grills in it, and it's the hand mouth.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
yeah.
Do we have any alternate language titles for this episode, Victor?
We do. They're kind of weird.
Oh, good.
French was sous hypnose or under hypnosis, which I guess is what happens in this episode.
Sort
and then in German, it was just die Gabe or the gift. So, yeah. And then it wasn't. Yeah. So, yeah.
It wasn't Teyla has nightmares.
Yeah.
Teyla is Wraith.
Their unexplicable psychic powers.
Awesome. We do have some listener feedback.
Yay.
Mark Herlow. I don't know if I'm going to read the entire YouTube name out because it's a bunch of numbers and letters, but Mark Herlow commented on YouTube on our episode for Citizen Joe. He said they made this episode in the ones that had Wormhole Extreme, and it kind of made me feel like the Stargate series is really a fake silly show covering up for the real life program our world governments are really doing. It gives the series fans hopes that real technology was found and we as a species are using it in real life along with the storyline, but maybe is not as bad of a situation as the series got into. That's what I'm going to choose to believe, that Wormhole Extreme is a double joke because Stargate is actually the real life Wormhole Extreme and this is really going on.
Yeah, there is a whole Stargate, the show is really a documentary contingent out there. You can find them online if you look hard enough, and yeah,
that'd be great. We could have someone from that on as a guest, and they could explain it to us.
I like that idea.
Yeah, let me know. I can set that up.
Definitely.
That'd be fun.
Yeah,
because this day and age, I'm okay with believing in conspiracy theories. So
yeah.
Especially the fun ones.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Stargate, including Philip M., Rebecca C., Tom E., Kevin B., and Joseph D. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and you can find our video versions at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. And to find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send us feedback, you can visit sqpn.com/Stargate. And you can email us at stargate@sqpn.com and follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on X at SQPN. You can check out our Discord where we can talk about how Stargate is definitely a documentary at sqpn.com/Discord. And we'll be back next time with the next episode of SG1. Until then, Jeff Haecker thank you for joining us and sharing the Secrets of Stargate.
Thanks, Jack.
And Lisa Jones, thank you as well.
Thanks, Jack.
And Victor Lambs, thank you too.
Thanks, Jack. And now, what was that we were all supposed to remember? It was something important. Oh, yes, that's right. The Alamo.
Remember. Once again, I'm Jack Baruzzini. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?